Oh, hello there. How are you? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show, guys. I'm Sean Butler. That's Bugsy Malone. We are cold. It's freezing today. It is absolutely freezing. I feel like I'm in like a low-lying skiing resort. The puddles of water over there are now frozen overnight. The grass, or whatever that is looking more white with frost. But the blue skies are out and the sun is full in the sky, making my eyes squint as I look at the camera. Guys, I hope you're happy and healthy doing the things that you love with those that you love doing them with. Let me ask you a favour, guys, if you wouldn't mind. Please smash the like button for me on your way in or out of the video. It really helps the algorithm with those positive metrics. Please also, for those of you that aren't subscribed, and there's a lot of you that aren't still, 65% of people, I think, 70% of people that watch my videos remain unsubscribed. I think that's about standard, to be honest, but I'm asking you, why not just hit the subscribe button? If you like Tottenham, maybe I'll say something that you'll resonate with. Who knows? Smash the subscribe if you haven't, please, guys. And then to everybody, hit the notification bell. Make sure that you are first informed when we drop new content on the daily. And last but by no means least, guys, do drop a comment for us if you've got an opinion. Bugsy, out of there, please. Bye-bye. On the content today, and I hope you will, because I think this one could be somewhat interesting. Guys, we spent a lot of time on this channel in the last few weeks talking about like midfielders that we've been linked with, right? And we have the same kind of repetitive acknowledgements that do we really need a fifth central midfielder who does everything that the other 4 or 5 do, depending on if you count Pape Sarr as a first teamer. And we always say, like, if we're gonna just go down this path of conversation, then we have to acknowledge that first priority is a centre back, second priority is a right wing back, or vice versa, whichever way around you want to do that. But so let's assume that that's the case, and that they've got somebody in line for a centre back, somebody in line maybe for a right back. Today, some notable outlets have been talking in their own little ways about 3 different players, and it's interesting because they're focusing today's topics mainly on the kind of creative role, attacking midfielder. You know, some of them are mainly central figures. 1 or 2 of these 3 could play possibly out on the right hand side to give some level of competition for Dejan Kulusevski. And of course, I don't necessarily know yet how I feel about this idea of signing somebody who plays in that kind of 10 role, the creative role. I know it's a weird one because everybody wants James Maddison, right? Everyone would love to see James Maddison at Tottenham, but if we're talking like usefulness, utility, how, you know, in order for James Maddison, unless you reposition him out on the right hand side, then the only other way that you're really going to see him get minutes frequently is if Conte either pivots to a 3-5-2 or if he was to go to a back 4. And we know that, you know, the dream scenario would be to be able to go to a back 4, because immediately if you go to a back 4, I don't think Emerson Royale looks anywhere near as bad a player as he is. It probably suits Ryan Sessegnon more than the left wing back role. And also it allows room for even our squad as it is to be able to have space for Richarlison in the 9, Harry Kane in the 10, Sonny on the left and Decky on the right. And so then you could, you know, have James Maddison playing in the 10 role occasionally. And I'm talking about James Maddison specifically because that's the biggest name that we always link with. We're always linked with him, so is everybody else. I personally think he's going to go to Newcastle, where he will immediately walk into the team and they don't have to necessarily pivot any formations to make room for him, plus he's going to get paid a lot of money. We're not talking about James Maddison today, I'm just using him as the example. The 3 names that we've been linked with today are also not necessarily new names, but they're not names that I've spoken about too much on this channel. One of them is H.E. Kamada, Eintracht Frankfurt player. One of them is Hakim Ziyech, ex-Ajax, current Chelsea player. And the third is Mohamed Kudus, current Ajax player, who's surprised and been incredibly useful for Ghana's World Cup story. So all three of those guys, I'll be honest with you, all three of those players I like. I think they're all good players. I think in terms of like how much they will cost, let's start with the basics first, right? Kamada is out of contract. I think he's 26 years old. He's out of contract in the summer. He's valued at about £30 million, or 30 million euros. But because he's only got 6 months left on his contract and could technically sign a pre-arrangement in January, I would imagine that you could probably get him out of Frankfurt's hands for 15 million. And the level of clubs that I'm seeing him linked with alongside Tottenham are teams like Borussia Dortmund. Now, no disrespect to Borussia Dortmund, but I think that Tottenham are a bigger pool than them and would probably have a better chance of attracting him. When you look at someone like Mohamed Kudus, he's 22 years old, and first of all, look, I'll put to one side the fact that I don't particularly like the idea necessarily of signing players just because they've had a good World Cup. How many times over the years have we seen players that have had good international tournaments get taken on to new clubs, go to new leagues, and then kind of fall back into irrelevance, quite often. So, but I'm not making my judgment call on Kudus based on the World Cup, because I just genuinely do think he looks like a raw talent, and he's played really well for Ajax. But I think he's going to cost you 40 million quid, and he's somebody who is he's somebody who's going to have all sorts of competition for his signature. Liverpool would be after him. No doubt Bayern Munich might want to go after someone like him. Maybe a couple of the Spanish teams might want to. Morning, how are you doing? And so consequently, I just feel like it's one of those opportunity cost things where, do Tottenham want to spend an inordinate amount of time, precious minutes of the window, when you already might be facing complications with the return of people like Harry Winks if Sampdoria can wriggle out of their contract. Same goes for Serge Reguilon at Atletico Madrid. There's going to be additional absorption of time in trying to find those guys new houses. And so I don't know necessarily sometimes whether it's always right to put your name in the hat and try and compete for players that in all likelihood, even if the selling club was willing to do business, that the player would naturally want to come to you. Now, I'm not saying that we should just walk away from any great player, because there's bigger teams out there that would likely be a bigger draw, because that's pretty a defeatist attitude, I think. But I also think if there's players out there that are comparable in terms of quality, that can do a job that you need, that have less roadblocks in the way, then there's nothing necessarily wrong with kind of optimizing your efforts in the window and thinking, why get into bidding wars? Why have to go out and schmooze and wine and dine these players and their agents and their families and all that stuff just to be undone by greedy players who would always take the highest bid, and Tottenham's wage structure precludes that Tottenham won't be able to necessarily offer those financial compensation packages, or at least the same ones as other people can. And so for me, I don't know, same with Gvardiol. Not that I'm getting back off Gvardiol, but as much as I would love Tottenham to go and buy Gvardiol, I think that you need a smart approach here, and you need to make those inquiries and figure out how interested is he, and if the answer's pretty vague, or even if it's pretty clear that he isn't really, then step away, let the other guys fight over him, and quietly go and do your business with Antonio Silva, for example, who could turn out to be just as great a defender, but less roadblocks in the way to the signature. And so with Kudus, much as I think he's cracking, I worry about whether or not that would be another concern about taking up too much of our precious time. Whereas you've got Kamada that could be available, and I think Borussia Dortmund is a team that you can easily sell the dream above that journey. And Kamada's a fantastic player, like a fantastic player. I think he's scored 12 goals and 4 assists in 22 games for Frankfurt this season. Now Frankfurt have put another contract in front of him. He's yet to sign it. I'm guessing he was waiting for the World Cup to see how that went, and now they're out. Then we'll come back and see what happens in January. Third option, guys, is Ziyech. Now he's a player that will divide a few people as well. He's a Chelsea man. He's not wanted by Chelsea. If he's not wanted by Chelsea, then why should we want him, is one argument. If he hasn't really done it in the Premier League, then is he going to do it for Tottenham, is another. And let's be frank, Ziyech usually puts in worldy performances against Tottenham. He did all the way back when he played for Ajax back in the Champions League semi-finals. Amazing performances. But in the Premier League, if you speak to most Chelsea fans, they will tell you that Ziyech doesn't do it regularly enough for them, and is a disappointing player with lots of talent but no end product, or very little end product. He's done very well for Morocco, and he does very well against Tottenham, but is that enough? Well, look, he's 28, 29, and allegedly today he's available for about 8 million quid. So you've also got to think about the transition, right? Just because you could make the argument that Ziyech doesn't do it enough in the Premier League, but he's still been there and done it in the Premier League. Kamada hasn't, Kudus hasn't. And the Premier League's a different league to the Dutch league or to the German league. So, will Kudus immediately transition? How many players have we seen with talent come across from Holland from the Eredivisie and then struggle because the level is just on a different playing field? Quite often, I think. So of the three of them, when you factor in cost, access, potential, and how time consuming the deals would be, I'm not sure if other teams are interested in Ziyech. I didn't read any about that today. For me, if you had to pick one, I'd probably pick Ziyech, because he at least can play in the middle and can play on the right hand side. I don't know if you could see Daichi Kamada. I think it was his name. Kamada. Let's call him Kamada. I don't know if he could play on the right. He seems very much more like a central figure who hangs around the back and tries to unlock the doors. And like I said, it's a very, very useful asset to have. But is he going to play in a 3-4-3? No. So in order to make that make sense, you need to get your head around the idea that Conte's going to pivot and play 3-5-2 or 4-2-3-1 formations. And we've seen him play 3-5-2 somewhat under duress because of injuries or pressure. And it didn't really suit the system, didn't really suit the players, and it didn't really suit the results. So perhaps we should shake hands with the fact that Conte is Conte, and that he sticks to what he knows, sticks to what he likes. And on that basis, I'm not entirely sure Kamada makes that much sense, at least for whilst Conte is here. Kudus, I think you could make the argument, has the talent to play on the right or the left or through the middle, and he's a really good player. If it's realistic, I think you have a conversation with his agents and find out whether or not it's a possibility, whether he's interested, and what's it going to take to get the job done. And if the answer is pleasing, I guess, to the ears of Paratici and Levy on all three fronts, then of course you'd go and get him. Right, at 22, I think he would be someone really exciting to see, kind of be the next generation of forwards coming through our team. But I think the easiest transfer is probably Ziyech. And with the idea of Malinovsky maybe not happening anymore because of the Atlanta Paratici thing, you need someone who can play on the right, who knows who can play on the right hand side, and Ziyech is that guy. What are your thoughts, guys? Let me know in the comments. Ziyech, Kudos, or Kamada? Who do you want to see, if any, come in and play that creative role? And let me know the reasons why. Like, share and subscribe, guys, and as always, have a good one. Stay warm, stay happy, stay healthy.